Hey folks, good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Let's take a look at LMKR Well Planner. So we'll take a look at a couple of workflows, but before we get started, let me just tell you what LMKR Well Planner is. And the easiest way to do that is to tell you what it can do. So with the Well Planner module, you can digitize target points and you can calculate well surveys for your proposed wells that you create in Geographics. You can also display your surfaces, which will assist you in planning new wells by selecting target points. Not only that, but you can also export information out of Well Planner, including the surveys, target points, and even geoprog reports, which is something new in this update. In addition, you can also constrain your dogleg severity values. You can plan using either the field planner or the single well planning mode, which is the smart section mode, and we'll touch upon that today. You can view your entire well in 3D in these different modules that you see here. And finally, probably the most important thing is that Well Planner, LMKR Well Planner, will integrate with Geographics all the way. So you don't have to mess around with imports and exports. Now, as you know, we have just released the Update 1, or the Well Planner 2014.1. Well, there's a couple of new things that went into it. One is the geoprognosis reports. Second is the dual dogleg severities, which I'll show you in the program. The non-projected line of section allows you to plan if there are vertical wells in your way. You can actually plan on the map view that go outside of a straight line. And also there's some additional well editing capabilities that have been added that we'll see today. Our focus is this today. We have three things to show. First thing is we'll see how to use the Well Planner with field planning mode. We'll visualize our field plan in advanced 3D. And finally, we'll see how Well Planner works in the single well planning mode, which is the smart section mode. So, as you already probably know, advanced field planning, you can create and manage multiple field plans, and you don't have to save it to the database. So at first you save it to an XML, and then once you're happy with what you have, you can then save it into the database. You can also generate directional surveys using the Well Planner for this. And also, you can actually view things in our advanced 3D visualization. Whatever you put on a map is the things that you can view in advanced 3D. And finally, you can create wells in smart section mode. So, without getting stuck in the PowerPoints here, let's go ahead and actually see how these things work. At first, we'll talk about the field planning mode. So I have a map. What I'd like to do is I have a couple of wells planned. I like to plan a new field plan. So I can go to my 3D toolbar, Pro toolbar, and I can select the Launch Field Planner, which will bring up this dialog. Let's go ahead and put in a plan name. Once I have a plan name, I can go ahead and actually put a pad with some wells on it. So before we had to select the pad, but now we can actually do AutoPad. Let's go ahead and use that function. I click on AutoPad, and I now select the slots I want to use. So the first slot and the last slot. Okay. You'll notice it has filled in all the information regarding the spacing and the location by itself. I go ahead and put in some of this information, such as well spacing, kickoff depth, and heel to toe. I can also select the reservoir layer. So I'm going to select E subsea and offset it by 10 feet away from the bottom hole. And at this point, let me select the layout. I'll make it 3 wells and click Update. Cool. So let's zoom in and see what just happened. There we go. We have a pad that was created really quickly, and we have 3 wells emanating from it. Let's go ahead and go into Well Planner. So you can activate it by using this pane over here and clicking on the bullseye icon. Once it's activated, the first thing you'll notice is that it automatically picks up the pad from Field Planner and picks up all the 3 slots that we have just selected. There they are. First thing you'll do is in the left-hand side you have a list of pads and slots. So let's go ahead and click on the first slot. Once we click on the first slot, take a look at the right-hand side. We have tabs: Edit, Calculate, Display, Export, and Geo Products. These are the tabs that we work through. It's a left to right workflow between the tabs. So we go from left to right until we finish. When we click on the Edit tab, that's a new tab that we have put in. Over here, you pretty much do edits to your target points. You'll notice we have 4 initial target points: surface, kickoff, heel, and toe. These are the initial ones that were created over here. I can edit them if I want to over here with the pencil tool. Also at the bottom, we added something new. We added a header section. And before I do that, let me go ahead and actually save the first slot to the database. All right, you'll see a little database icon over here when it's saved. Once it's saved, I can change the name of the well and I can change the number. And in addition, this was requested to put in the permit date and the estimated spud date. Since these dates will change pretty often, you have that flexibility to go in and change the dates, and that'll actually update in the database so you can see it in Wellbase. Once you're done with the edit, you go into Calculate. You have a vertical section in the plan view mode. Now you've seen this before. The well is at the surface, you have a kickoff point, landing, bottom hole. I can easily move the points, and as I move them, you'll notice that the algorithm updates on the fly. What I can do is, I have my default build rates, and remember I mentioned the new thing about this release is the 2 build rates. One is going from the approach, so this is from the kickoff point all the way to the landing point. This is the approach, dogleg severity, and then the other one is the lateral, from the landing point all the way to the bottom hole. For this specific well, I can override values, and of course I can put in my own values. So for lateral, let's say I want 5, I can just click 5. What if I want to add a target point? Well, that's pretty easy to do. Click the digitize button, add a target point. Move it around whatever way you want. You'll notice the visual cue. It's red. As you keep going, something happened. The line is red. That means this well is undrillable because of the target point orientation. It means there's 2 solutions to this. Either you move the target point back to another location, or change your dogleg severity. The dogleg severity is probably too low. So if I change it to something like 8, that fixes the issue, and we're back on track. All right, in the plan view, you have a way of seeing how the well looks like from a map view portion. Now, the other update that we had was you can now plan your wells on a non-projected line of section. So what does that mean? Well, I can get rid of this checkbox here, and if I need to kick out like this, I can do that if I need to avoid some sort of geological hazards or wells in the way. And let me click that back in. The next step is we have the display. We can go into the 3D display within Well Planner just to see how our well looks like. And you've seen this before. The export button, you can export the survey including all these values. Measure depth, inclination, azimuth, easting, northing, elevation, and build rate. When I click this export button, it'll just export into an Excel sheet from where it is easy for you to use those numbers in any way you need. The next tab is the Geo Products tab. Now this is new, folks. So let me show you real quick. Specifically in the Geo Products, they update on the fly, and they use the surfaces that are available in your Geo Atlas. So for over here, we have 2 surfaces, E sub C and A sub C. And because we have those 2 over there, we see them in Well Planner. So Well Planner is going to use these 2 surfaces to generate your GeoProg reports. Pretty much the estimated formation tops, the intersection between the wellbore and wherever it intersects these surface layers. So you see your well header on top with your datum, you see your well targets with their respective locations, but now you see your estimated formation tops. Not only that, you can also export these values into an Excel sheet. And let me show you. Once you click export, it will export it like this, and you can use this for whatever analysis you need and hand it off to the drillers. Great. So this well is now planned. I'm just going to click on the other wells. When you come back to the field planner screen, all you have to do is click Update Layer, and there you go. Let me make this a little bit more visible. Since this is an ArcGIS file, it is quite easy for us to change the orientation. So let me get rid of the well stick buffer, the well sticks, and just show the path itself. And let's change that color to red and give it a weight of 1. Okay, perfect. So what if I wanted to move some of these on the screen? You could also do that. If I move this and I update the layer, it uses Well Planner and the algorithms automatically to change its trajectory. You can move the bottom hole, you can move the landing point, so it works quite quickly. All right. And finally, what I wanted to show you was the ability to go ahead and view this in 3D. Now this is kind of cool because what I can do is I can just drag a 3D region, and let me show you, makes my map bigger. I can drag a 3D region and click, yep, I want to see this area in 3D. So this will launch the advanced 3D visualization, and we won't go too far into depth into it because there's actually another webinar that Scott did that did go into depth with it, but you can see fence diagrams, you can see your wells, you can see logs, you can see seismic in it. So it gets quite detailed. It's very nice to just delve inside your map and see what's going on in the subsea. And there we go, we have it launched. So just to show you, I just created a pad. And hopefully that looks recognizable because that is exactly what we have just built. So as I go inside, I can change my display properties here. Let me change the transparency. There we go. I see the wells that I have just built. It's that quick. Once you add seismic and logs to it, you can display it in with even more detail. And you'll notice that a lot of the UI since the last release has changed to make it easier to navigate and to use advanced 3D visualization. All right, so I won't get into any more detail than that in the advanced 3D visualization. Let me close this out. And finally, the last thing that we were going to discuss is the single well planning mode. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing you want to do is open Smart Section, which is right over here on this Project Explorer pane. Once you have Smart Section brought up, you'll notice that there's a map and there's a lot of wells that have been planned, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to plan an additional well. Let's zoom in on that. We have a proposed surface spot and we want to create a well over here in this round circle. Click on the cross section and click Define Projected. Using Define Projected, we can now create a projected line of section along where we want our well to be. Click Select Wells, select the well, and end the definition. All right, we have our cross-section view. Let's go ahead and expand that. What you see here in green is the well that's going to get planned, and the lines over here that are going horizontally are actually the surfaces, the frame builder surfaces. So these geo-modeled surfaces, they update on the fly. using the Frame Builder engine. Let's go ahead and add some target points to this. All we do is select the well on the left-hand side, right-click, and before we do that, let's launch Well Planner. Go ahead and right-click on the well and click Digitize Target Points and start digitizing away. You'll notice as you add those target points that the path automatically illuminates for you. And Well Planner picks up those points. You'll see them in the points category. What you can do if you want, you can also delete and add points from this dialog. So for example, I'm going to delete this point. And I can go back into Smart section and add it back in. So there's that flexibility for you. All the other functionalities are pretty much the same as you saw in Field Planner. Everything works very similarly. You have surfaces and you can change them and modify them any way you want. Now, one thing I did want to mention is those surfaces. The surfaces that you see in Well Planner are these surfaces that you see right here, E and A. So whatever surfaces that are in GeoAtlas and are saved while GeoAtlas is open are the surfaces that Well Planner will display and calculate the geoprogs off of. You can also move points as you did before. And as you move them, notice this, that it updates on the fly. See that? You move it in Well Planner and it updates in Smart section. You can click Display, see it in 3D view. Once again, Export. And finally, you have your geoprog view. Again, as you move the geoprog and it intersects the layers, you will see those estimated formation tops get added as the wellbore intersects more surface layers. And that's it, folks. That's it for the demo, and we're just about to make some conclusions here. Okay, so let's conclude. What did we see today? Well, Well Planner can be used in field planning mode, but also in single well planning mode, which we did not see before. You can export survey data. We saw geoprogs, and you can also export target points of your wells into an Excel sheet from where you can just use that data and give it off to the drillers. You can view the whole field and the whole map in GeoAtlas using the advanced 3D. And finally, Well Planner is fully integrated with Geographics, so it makes it quite easy to use. It picks up the points, and it also sends the points to Geographics.